It feels like every time we turn around, the cost of electricity is just going up and up.
Yeah.
And we're going to take a deep dive into a potential solution to this problem. A world where you generate your own power and become completely energy independent.
Very cool.
We've got some fascinating source material to unpack, including details on this ultimate off-grid generator,
Okay.
which claims to be a game changer.
It's really fascinating how this topic is resonating with so many people right now.
Yeah.
The U.S. Energy Information Administration reported that in the last 5 years alone, residential electricity prices have gone up over 15%.
Wow, 15%.
Yeah.
That's pretty alarming. What's driving this relentless increase? Is it just corporate greed, or is there more to the story?
So there's definitely more to it.
Yeah.
We're dealing with a whole bunch of factors converging at once. Think about our aging power grid. The miles and miles of power lines, transformers, all that infrastructure
Right.
that needs constant upkeep and replacement.
Yeah.
That's a massive expense right there.
It's like neglecting the foundation of your house.
Exactly.
Eventually, it's going to catch up with you.
Exactly. And then layer on top of that increasing regulations, the ever-growing demand for electricity, and the fluctuating prices of fossil fuels,
Right.
which still power a significant portion of the grid.
Right. And let's not forget about climate change.
Oh, of course.
Extreme weather events can really wreak havoc on power grids, leading to more repairs and upgrades, which ultimately get passed down to us, the consumers.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
a chain reaction.
Yeah.
We're seeing hurricanes, wildfires, and extreme temperatures stressing the grid more and more. So
Okay.
it's no wonder people are looking for alternatives, for ways to take control of their energy and shield themselves from these rising costs.
That brings us to the concept of going off-grid. I bet it used to sound a bit radical to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Like something only hardcore survivalists did.
Right.
But with these sky-high energy prices and concerns about grid reliability, it's becoming a much more mainstream conversation.
Absolutely. It's definitely shifting from the fringe to a more practical consideration
Yeah.
for many people.
Right.
And it's not just about escaping civilization and living in a remote cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
It's about creating a more resilient and self-sufficient lifestyle.
So what are we talking about in terms of the investment involved?
Mm-hmm.
I imagine setting up an off-grid system isn't exactly cheap.
You're right. The upfront cost can seem intimidating.
Yeah.
Our source material indicates that a comprehensive off-grid system can run anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000.
Wow.
That's a significant chunk of change for most households.
Yeah, that's not exactly pocket change.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing the idea is that you recoup that investment over time through lower energy bills.
Precisely.
Oh.
Think of it as a long-term investment that pays dividends over time. The sources suggest that the payback period for an off-grid system is roughly 7 to 10 years.
Oh.
And after that, it's essentially free energy.
Wow.
Plus, you're locking in your energy costs, protecting yourself from future price hikes.
So once that initial investment is paid off, it's smooth sailing, financially speaking.
Yeah.
But there's got to be more to it than just saving money, right?
Really.
What are some of the other advantages of going off-grid?
Absolutely. There are a lot of non-financial perks
Yeah.
that are really appealing to people.
Yeah.
Let's talk about environmental impact.
Oh.
Imagine generating your own clean energy,
Yeah.
reducing your reliance on fossil fuels, and minimizing your carbon footprint.
Right.
That's a big one for many people.
I can see how that sense of environmental responsibility would be a major motivator, especially as we become more aware of the impact our energy choices have on the planet.
It's a powerful feeling
Yeah.
to know you're doing your part. And
Yeah.
then there's the peace of mind that comes with energy security. No more worries about blackouts or grid failures.
Right.
You're in control of your power supply.
Right.
Think about those situations where the grid goes down
Yeah.
due to extreme weather or other unforeseen events.
Yeah, like during that massive ice storm a few years back.
Exactly.
Our whole neighborhood was without power for days.
Yeah,
It was chaos.
exactly. Those events are becoming more frequent and intense.
Right.
So having your own independent power source becomes a real asset.
For sure.
And beyond the practicalities, there's a certain sense of freedom and self-reliance that
Yeah.
comes with going off grid.
Yeah.
It's about taking ownership of your energy future, breaking free from dependence on large utility companies.
I can see the appeal in that. It's like taking a step towards greater autonomy and control over your life.
It's about aligning your lifestyle with your values. And for many people, that includes environmental stewardship, energy independence, and a desire to live more sustainably.
Now let's talk about this ultimate off-grid generator. What sets it apart from other off-grid systems? Why is it generating so much buzz?
Well, the ultimate off-grid generator claims to offer a unique combination of efficiency, versatility, and user-friendliness.
Okay.
One of the key features that really jumps out is its high-efficiency power generation.
So you're getting more bang for your buck energy-wise.
Yeah, you could say that.
Tell me more about how it achieves that high efficiency.
Well, unfortunately, the source material doesn't go into great technical detail
Oh, okay.
about the specific technology they're using.
Gotcha.
But they do emphasize that it's designed to maximize energy output while minimizing fuel consumption.
Okay, so maybe they're being a bit secretive about their secret sauce for now, but efficiency is clearly a major selling point.
Right.
What else makes this generator stand out?
Another key feature is its fuel versatility.
Okay.
It's designed to run on multiple types of fuel,
Okay.
giving you more options depending on your location and what's readily available.
That's a smart move,
Mm,
especially in areas where certain fuel sources might be more accessible or affordable than others.
right.
It adds a layer of adaptability and resilience.
Exactly. They've also put a lot of emphasis on user-friendliness.
Okay.
For example, they highlight its quiet operation, which is a huge plus
Oh, yeah?
for those who don't want a noisy generator constantly disrupting their peace.
Yeah, I can imagine that constant drone would get old pretty quickly.
Right.
Peace and quiet are priceless,
Mhm.
especially when you're trying to create a serene, off-grid sanctuary.
Absolutely. And they've also designed it with a compact footprint
Okay.
so that it can fit seamlessly into your property without being an eyesore. And they've minimized maintenance requirements so you're not spending all your time tinkering with the system instead of enjoying your off-grid lifestyle.
Those are all important considerations.
Yeah.
It sounds like they've really tried to address some of the common pain points associated with traditional generators.
It seems they're aiming to make the transition to off-grid living as smooth and hassle-free as possible.
Yeah.
But remember, going off-grid isn't a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
It's important to carefully assess your individual needs and circumstances before making the leap.
Right, and that's where things can get a bit tricky.
Yeah.
How do you know if going off-grid is actually right for you? Where do you even begin to figure that out?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one we'll delve into more deeply in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll guide you through a step-by-step process of self-assessment to help you determine if off-grid living aligns with your energy goals and lifestyle.
Okay. That sounds incredibly helpful.
Yeah,
We've covered a lot of ground already,
we have.
from the skyrocketing costs of grid power to the potential of off-grid solutions like the ultimate off-grid generator.
For sure.
But as we've learned, it's not just about the technology.
Right.
It's about making an informed decision that aligns with your individual needs and aspirations.
Yeah.
So stay tuned as we continue our exploration of the exciting world of off-grid living.
Definitely.
All right, so we've talked about the rising cost of grid power, the allure of energy independence, and this ultimate off-grid generator that promises to make it all happen.
Right.
But how do you know if going off-grid is actually the right move for you?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's easy to get swept up in the excitement,
Yeah.
but making a well-informed decision requires a bit of soul-searching
Right.
and some number crunching.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot to consider beyond just the upfront cost of the equipment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The first step is to take a close look at your current energy consumption patterns.
Okay.
Most people just glance at the total on their energy bill and try not to faint.
Yeah.
But understanding how much energy you actually use is crucial.
So it's not just about the bottom line, but about digging into the details of your energy usage.
Precisely. Are you a power-hungry household with every gadget imaginable running 24/7?
Right.
Or are you already pretty energy conscious, minimizing your usage and opting for efficient appliances?
Because if you're already living a relatively low energy lifestyle,
Right.
maybe a massive off-grid system is overkill.
That's a great point. You want to right-size your system to your needs.
Yeah.
Not only will this save you money up front, but it'll also ensure you're not generating more power than you actually use.
So step one is to audit your energy habits and get a baseline understanding of your consumption.
Right.
What comes next?
Once you have a handle on your energy appetite,
Yeah.
you need to assess the resources available where you live.
Okay.
Mother Nature has a lot to offer,
Right.
but her gifts vary from region to region.
Right. It's all about location, location, location.
Does your region get ample sunshine for solar panels?
Right.
Is it consistently windy enough for wind turbines?
Yeah.
These are critical questions because you'll want to choose a system that aligns with your local climate and resources.
You wouldn't want to invest in a top-of-the-line solar setup if you live in a place that's cloudy most of the year.
Exactly. It's about working with nature, not against her.
Right.
Now, speaking of location, let's not forget about the characteristics of your property itself.
Ah, yes. Good old real estate.
Yeah.
It's not just about the house itself, but the land it sits on.
Do you have enough south-facing roof space for solar panels?
Right.
Is there sufficient land for wind turbines or other off-grid setups?
Okay.
These are practical considerations that can make or break your off-grid dreams.
I've heard stories of people getting all gung-ho about going off-grid, only to realize their property just isn't suitable.
Right.
It's a good reminder to do your homework before diving in headfirst.
And speaking of homework, let's not shy away from the financial aspect.
Right.
Be honest with yourself about your budget.
Yeah.
Can you comfortably afford the upfront costs of an off-grid system without jeopardizing your financial stability?
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement and the potential long-term savings,
Yeah.
but you got to balance that with your current financial realities.
And this ties into your broader financial goals.
Right.
Are you planning to stay in your current home for the foreseeable future,
Okay.
allowing you to fully reap the benefits of an off-grid system?
Yeah.
Or are you considering moving in the near future,
Yeah.
which might make the investment less appealing?
It's a lot like any major home improvement project.
Yeah.
You've got to factor in your future plans and
Yeah.
make sure your energy choices align with your overall vision.
And remember, there's no shame in starting small. You don't have to go completely off-grid overnight.
Yeah.
Perhaps you begin by supplementing your grid power with a few solar panels.
Right.
Or explore smaller-scale off-grid solutions.
It's like dipping your toes into the off-grid waters before taking the full plunge.
Exacto.
You can gain experience, build confidence, and gradually transition as your budget and comfort level grow.
It's all about finding the right pace and approach for your individual needs and circumstances.
Okay.
Now, while we've been focusing on the practical and financial aspects of going off-grid,
Right?
there's another layer to this that's often overlooked.
Okay.
The psychological shift that comes with embracing energy independence.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this psychological shift.
Yeah.
What changes in people's minds when they go off-grid?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
For most of our lives, we've been conditioned to rely on the grid for our energy needs.
Right.
We flip a switch and the lights magically turn on.
Yeah.
It's a passive relationship.
Right.
We take it for granted until there's an outage and suddenly we're plunged into darkness.
It's like we're completely oblivious to the intricate web of infrastructure that powers our modern lives
Exactly.
until it's disrupted.
Exactly. But when you go off grid, you become an active participant in your energy production and consumption.
Okay.
You start paying closer attention to your usage patterns,
Mm.
making conscious choices about how and when you use energy.
Right.
You develop a deeper understanding of where your power comes from and the impact it has.
So it's not just about installing some equipment, but about cultivating a whole new mindset
Yeah.
around energy.
Precisely. It's a shift from passive consumer to empowered producer.
Yeah.
And that can be both liberating and a bit daunting.
Liberating because you're taking control.
Yes.
Daunting because you're responsible for keeping the lights on.
It requires a willingness to learn, adapt,
Yeah.
and take ownership of your energy choices.
Right.
It's about breaking free from the constraints of the traditional grid and forging your own path
Okay.
toward a more sustainable and independent energy future.
That sounds like a pretty profound transformation.
It can be.
And it makes me wonder if going off-grid is about more than just energy independence.
Uh-huh.
It's almost like a return to our roots,
Hmm.
a reclaiming of self-sufficiency that's been lost in our modern world.
That's a fascinating observation.
Yeah.
And I think there's some truth to it.
Yeah.
For centuries, humans lived and thrived without being tethered to a centralized power grid.
Right.
They relied on their ingenuity and resourcefulness to harness the power of nature.
And in a way, going off-grid is about tapping back into that ancient wisdom,
Yeah.
blending it with modern technology to create a more resilient and harmonious way of life.
It's about honoring our past
Yeah.
while embracing the possibilities of the future.
Right.
It's about creating a more sustainable and fulfilling relationship with energy,
Okay.
one that empowers individuals and communities to thrive.
So we've talked about the practicalities, the financials, and the psychological shifts.
Right.
But what does it all boil down to?
Yeah.
What are the key takeaways for our listeners who are considering this off-grid adventure?
The reality is that grid power costs are rising,
Yeah.
and that trend is likely to continue.
Right.
Off-grid solutions, like the ultimate off-grid generator, offer a viable path to mitigating those costs and taking control of your energy future,
Okay.
but it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Right. It requires careful planning, research,
Yeah.
and a willingness to embrace a different way of thinking about energy.
You've got to do your homework, assess your needs, weigh the pros and cons,
Absolutely.
and ultimately decide if going off-grid aligns with your personal values and long-term goals.
Exactly. This deep dive is just the starting point.
Right.
It's about sparking curiosity and empowering you to explore the possibilities.
Yeah.
We've provided a framework for thinking about this complex issue,
Right.
but the real journey begins when you take that information and apply it to your own life.
So don't just sit there passively absorbing this information.
Yeah.
Go out there, do your research, talk to experts, and start envisioning your own energy-independent future.
And here's a final thought to ponder.
Okay.
What if instead of simply consuming energy,
Yeah.
we become active participants in its creation and distribution?
Right.
What if we shift from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance by harnessing the power of nature and technology?
Right.
That's the true potential of off-grid living.
That's a powerful vision.
It is.
And on that note, we'll leave you to explore those possibilities.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of off-grid living.
absolutely.
Remember, the power to shape your energy future is in your hands. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've explored the rising costs of grid power, the potential benefits of going off-grid, and the practical considerations for making that transition.
We even did a deep dive into the features of this ultimate off-grid generator. It seems to be making quite a splash in the off-grid world.
But as we've discussed, it's not just about the nuts and bolts of solar panels and wind turbines, is it? There's a deeper, more fundamental shift that happens when you embrace energy independence.
It's like stepping off the beaten path and forging your own trail. It can be exhilarating, empowering, and maybe even a little scary at times.
It's about taking responsibility, right? Not just for your own energy needs, but for the impact your choices have on the environment and on your community.
That's a great point. It's about moving from a mindset of consumption to one of creation, from dependence to self-reliance. It's a shift that can ripple outwards, influencing not just your own life, but the lives of those around you.
I'm curious from your experience, what are some of the unexpected ways people's lives change when they go off-grid? Are there any common themes or patterns that emerge?
One of the most common things I hear is a renewed sense of connection to nature. When you're relying on the sun and the wind for your energy, you become much more attuned to the natural rhythms of the day and the seasons.
It's like you're plugged into a different energy source, one that's more grounded, more in sync with the planet.
Exactly. And that connection often translates into a deeper appreciation for the environment and a greater commitment to sustainable living.
So it's not just about saving money or becoming energy independent. It's about a whole lifestyle shift.
Absolutely. I've also noticed that people who go off-grid tend to become more resourceful and self-sufficient. They learn to fix things themselves, to conserve resources, and to think creatively about solving problems.
It's like they're tapping into a hidden well of ingenuity. They realize they're capable of more than they thought.
It's empowering, isn't it? To know that you're not completely reliant on external systems, that you have the skills and knowledge to provide for yourself and your loved ones.
But let's be real, going off-grid isn't all sunshine and roses.
Hmm.
There are challenges, right? What are some of the hurdles people face when they make this transition?
Of course, there are always challenges. One of the biggest is dealing with the unexpected. The grid is designed to provide a consistent and reliable flow of electricity. But when you're relying on nature, there will be times when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing.
So you need backup systems and a willingness to adapt.
Exactly. It's about being prepared for fluctuations in energy production and having a plan in place for those times when you need to conserve power.
And what about the social aspect? Do people who go off-grid ever feel isolated or disconnected from their communities?
That's an interesting question, and I think it depends a lot on the individual and their community. Some people find that going off-grid actually strengthens their community ties. They become more involved in local initiatives, share their knowledge with others, and build a network of support around sustainable living.
So it can be a catalyst for bringing people together.
On the other hand, some people do experience a sense of isolation, especially if they live in remote areas or if their community isn't very receptive to off-grid living.
It's a reminder that going off-grid isn't just a personal choice. It's a decision that can impact your relationships and your social life.
And it's important to have those conversations with your loved ones to make sure everyone's on board and understands the implications of this lifestyle shift.
So we've explored the practicalities, the financials, the psychological shifts, and the social dynamics of going off-grid. It's a multifaceted decision with a lot to consider.
But at its core, it's about taking control of your energy future and aligning your lifestyle with your values.
It's about embracing innovation, connecting with nature, and fostering a sense of self-reliance and community.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to shape a more sustainable and resilient world, one home, one community at a time.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of off-grid living. It's a fascinating topic and one that we hope has sparked your curiosity and maybe even inspired you to explore your own energy independence.
Absolutely. It's all about empowering ourselves to create a brighter, more sustainable future. And that starts with each and every one of us making conscious choices about how we consume and generate energy.
Well said. And on that note, we'll sign off for now, but the conversation doesn't end here. We encourage you to continue exploring the possibilities of off-grid living, do your research, talk to experts, and most importantly, take action. Remember, the power to shape your energy future is in your hands.